This computer. Hello, this is Donita Fogelman of prairietrail.com. I am the mummy today, and I have with us our oldest, Catherine White, used to be Fogelman, the Hobbit. She is the shortest of 6 children, hence the name Hobbit. And we have with us today the oldest son, but number 3 in the family, Chloe Fogelman, the Jedi. We are going to be doing a reactionary video today of a video that Chloe has picked out. Chloe, tell us a little bit about what we are going to be watching without giving away any spoilers.
Okay, so this video is it's basically an opinion that somebody has, this guy, and about Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, God rest his soul.
It's not resting. He's alive.
He's alive.
He's alive.
Yeah.
No.
It's not resting.
But-
He's very busy, I do believe.
Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, it's his opinion on Jesus's sexuality and who he was attracted to,
Okay.
based on various weird historical, I don't want to say
Okay. So,
things.
Catherine, you've muted your phone, right?
Ah,
Dun, 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 dun.
I will do that.
The hard of hearing person doesn't realize how much noise some of her stuff makes sometimes. Okay. I want to preface this video with complete respect of individuals who have such opinions. We are Bible believers. We love the rainbow. We have a rainbow colored mailbox. It makes it easy for people to find whenever they come to buy livestock from us. And the channel that this is from, the video is called Jesus Was Gay. And the channel is powered by rainbows. So we will be going at this from a biblical perspective. And let's say start a screen share here. And from this biblical perspective, we've got the Bible pulled up here. BibleGateway.com is the one that I use so that we can share verses with you along the way, if it fits. And the audio for some reason does not work well on Zoom showing a YouTube video. So in our professional way, I'm going to be playing the audio on my phone for the mic at the same time that we're playing the video. So I'm very, very hopeful. Oh, it started playing already on the phone. You dumb thing. Oh, and there's ads, of course.
I know this is hard to hear, but it's God is at the center of.
Okay, so we will try to do this at the same time and start a reactionary video.
Jesus Christ, he was gay. Jesus, the believed Son of God, is at the center of many popular religions around the world and is the spotlight of Christianity. His birthday is celebrated worldwide on Christmas Day, even though no scripture specifically points to December 25th as the day he was born. In fact, historians agreed.
Trying to pause at the same time. Okay, I'm gonna start with that one right there. We're not even getting to the subject. He's absolutely right. Bible believers, you need to stop. I love you, and I understand that we've got such a tradition, but Christmas, December 25th, is not a biblical holiday at all. And because you are still doing that tradition and say, oh, it doesn't mean that to me, they know exactly what it means. And they know that it is not a biblical holiday. They understand this, and you need to quit. That's my rant. Catherine and her husband still do.
We still celebrate Christmas.
He's got older children, and you know, so if you're in transition and you're still kind of there, I get it, but this is one of the reasons that we have not done Christmas for about 16 years, because Leanna never did Christmas. She was in my belly when we did our first Hanukkah. So Christmas, not biblical. His birthday, he was not born in the wintertime. He was born in September, October, in the fall. It's absolutely, and they know this. So whenever you're doing something unbiblical, and I'm not ranting at this guy at all, he is absolutely right here. When you are doing something unbiblical, you are automatically turning them off, because yeah, we don't even want to go into the whole Christmas rant thing.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. We will do that later.
That may be a debate for later.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to try to get him back in sync here. We'll see what happens.
That if Jesus was a real man, he was born sometime in June, which is coincidentally Pride Month for the LGBTQ community. Regardless, their religion.
Okay. No. No. Scholars also debate the month of Jesus' birth, Star of Bethlehem. Okay. Well, there's a lot of debate on what the Star of Bethlehem actually was. I have written a book on the constellations and Bible prophecy, and Virgo, the Virgin, Leo, the Lion, which is the Lion, the King of Judah. It was around September. Okay.
Yeah, so basically, if you're placing going off of constellations, star alignment, and then also the biblical feasts that were happening at the time, and if you read through the story of Jesus's birth, you can see what biblical feasts are happening there. It was more in the fall. So
yeah. Okay.
Anyway, let's see if we can get through this without pausing and ranting anymore. Take notes. It's why you take notes.
For some reason, I doubt it.
Claim, quote, "Thou shalt not have any false gods besides me," as part of their 10 commandments. Yet, in the front of many Christian churches worldwide, you'll find one man's image as the centerpiece of their worship. There, in the front of the church, you'll see Jesus hanging from a cross, which is an image based on one of the most famous stories in the Bible, of Jesus being hung on a cross in ancient Roman times. Now, historians do credit Romans for hanging lots
That's
of
not
people
why
on
it's
crosses
famous,
back then,
though.
but whether this image is true or not is something we may not.
You what?
That's not why the story is famous, though. Like, there were hundreds, if not more, people being hung on a cross. That wasn't anything new. What made the story famous is that Pontius Pilate, believed he was the Son of God, and even posted it over his head that this is the King of the Jews, and the Jews killed him. And then what makes this story famous, and unlike any other story in the entire world, is that he rose from the grave, and that there were witnesses to it. It is recorded, and that his followers now will die horrible deaths because they know he lives. So that's why it's famous, not just because he was hung on a cross.
Yeah. Well, and I was trying not to rant. He's absolutely right again. The 10 Commandments say no graven image. A lot of definitely the Catholic Church, because it's the oldest organized Christian religion thing. That's not the Church of God. Okay. It's just a piece of what God used to share his story. Yeah, I had garlic. I'm so sorry. It does. A lot of the images that the Catholic Church uses, the statues and stuff that they use are pre-Jesus. They're
Repurposed.
they're repurposed.
They were recycling.
Yeah, they were recycling. Okay, well, at least they were green, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, a majority of those statues within the Vatican and outside of it predate. The statues themselves predate. So they were trying to turn Mithra and others into Jesus and his disciples. And that's wrong. Again, you do stuff like that, and you're asking for people to be nitpicking you. So again, I'm not complaining about what he's saying at all. It's the truth as far as that's concerned. And it's something that the church needs to watch. If you want to be able to even talk to these people anymore, because you don't understand their language, you don't understand what they're talking about, you don't understand what they're doing, you have to understand your own foundation to begin with. And unfortunately, the churches, the congregational organized religious church today is on a very sandy foundation, biblically speaking. And as far as the cross itself, there are debates among Bible believers about whether or not that should even be an icon or an image that we use at all. Many, like Catherine said, many people were crucified. Many people. It was a thing that Rome did. And
it was human sacrifice to Jupiter, I do believe.
So yeah. So I mean, I
it was, in my opinion, it was the perfect, I mean, he was a human sacrifice, and he was being sacrificed to the head god at the time, essentially. And then again, it kind of set up a model for Christianity of taking that and repurposing it to, nope, I do own everything.
Well,
I am God.
And there was a foreshadowing in the Old Testament. And Catherine said something about the Jews killing Jesus earlier. It was the Pharisees that were pushing this. It was a certain sect of those people living in Judea, okay, at the time. A majority of the Hebrew people were exiled. They weren't in the land. So it was just a certain group of the Pharisees and the Sadducees at that time that accused him within Roman law to get him killed and getting out of their way.
Even went beyond accusations and straight up told Pontius Pilate, we have no king besides Caesar. And that's basically when he washed his hands of it. And then as soon as Christ was crucified, he had them go hang up a sign that says the King of the Jews as he's sitting there dying.
Yeah. So there is a foreshadowing in the Old Testament, in Exodus, whenever the Hebrew people, all of the Hebrew people, the complete nation, came out of Egypt and was in the wilderness. God had them set up a tabernacle, and the way that the tabernacle was set up is very much in line of a cross laying down. You had the brazen altar, which was the big barbecue grill at the beginning outside. And then you had a wash basin where the priests would wash their hands and feet before going into the holy place, which had the candles, the candles, the menorah, and the table of shewbread, and the table or the altar of incense, which the incense was like the prayers going up to God, and probably kept everything smelling really nice and clean. And then in the Holy of Holies behind the veil was the Ark of the Covenant at the very, very top. So where Jesus's nameplate is saying that he's the Son of God is symbolically where that Ark of the Covenant would have been. So, which was considered the seat of God. So there is some foreshadowing in the cross there, but he definitely has a point as far as the images are concerned. I don't think Jesus would have ever wanted any of his congregations to have any statues at all on their property.
Yeah.
And I don't know that he would have wanted an image of his dead body hanging on the wall either. So he's got a point. All right, now my phone has timed out, so let's see. Let's try this again.
Ever know. After all, if you look at the area Jesus supposedly grew up in and the time period, there was significant evidence to suggest Jesus was in fact darker in skin tone and not white, like in many of the pictures depicted of him since then. In fact, significant evidence in the verses of the Bible itself point to him being darker in skin color as well.
I absolutely agree. The people of Judea, I hate to say the Jews, the people of Judea at the time were Sephardic. They were Sephardic. They were not Ashkenazi. A majority of us have Ashkenazi bloodlines in us. They were not Ashkenazi. And so
and not only that, but you know, he was outside all the time. He was literally walking everywhere. He was out in the wilderness so that they wouldn't kill him for a while. If you go read through,
he was at least tanned real good.
He was at least tanned real good. So
yeah, so the only depiction that we have of him actually in our home is more of an African look. And I have had African Americans visit our home before and loved it. It looks like he's laughing in it. So it's a beautiful painting or print of a painting. It's a neat way to see him. Yeah, you do. But he was more than likely either an Arabic or an African American-ish. He was darker. Come on, guys. So that he's right again. He's doing good so far. Did you think that we would agree with so much, Chloe?
Yes and no.
Like, we're only a minute and a half in and we're saying, yes, this guy's got it right so far, right?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of his stuff later on are very much opinionated and he presents them as proof.
Okay. So. Well, we'll get there. But so far he's in the first minute and a half. He's doing really great. I like the research that he's putting into that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
While it's important to point out here that not all Christians are homophobic, it's also important that you know most, if not all, homophobic arguments worldwide come from the Catholic faith or very similar faith communities.
Okay. First, I've got a problem with the word homophobic. Guys, the word means afraid of people. It doesn't mean what you're trying to give it. So
homophobia is a phobia, like arachnophobia or claustrophobia. It is a fear of.
I have arachnophobia. I am afraid of spiders. I do not hate them. They have a purpose in the world. Yeah, I do not hate them. They have a purpose. I'm okay with them as long as they are outside away from me. Um, so yeah, I've just got a pet peeve with that word. But Christians, you need to understand what they're doing, why they're using this word. They are using this word, fear of people, as a hate word. So anytime you disagree with someone in this community, in my experience, if you disagree with one small little thing, or you're not completely embracing their whole ideology, you are homophobic according to them in a way that you hate them. So if you
Yeah.
do not agree and embrace everything that they believe and do, then they
Yeah.
believe that you hate them.
We have completely distorted the Greek meaning where the words homo and phobia originally came from. And homo, I'm trying to remember the actual Greek name to that or word for that, but it was same. So it was, you know,
It would have been
it was
originally
same
coming
fear.
from the image. The image, we are created biblically, we are created in the image of God. And the Greeks, all the other religions, of course, according to our belief, all of the other religions got something from the Bible. So yeah, it would have mean in the image of, so the same as. So yeah, you're anyway, okay. We haven't even made it 2 minutes in. Let's try some more.
So it makes us wonder, why would people who worship Jesus also be the same ones to condemn homosexuality, when it's pretty well known that Jesus himself was in fact queer? Historians have long been trying to determine the sexuality of Jesus. Recent evidence has pretty much set in stone that Jesus was either gay or bisexual. So we thought it was long overdue that we looked at the evidence here on our show. After all, we already looked at the mountains of evidence showing you how being gay is not a sin in any major religion of the world. So why not go a step further and prove the Son of God himself was gay too? So let's break down our evidence of this. First, we need to understand the time and place Jesus grew up in. Then we'll go over what evidence suggests he was gay. And finally go over what the opposition might say to this evidence. First, let's look at the time and place Jesus grew up in. Many people assume, since years are labeled as BC, meaning before the birth of Christ, and AD, after the death of Christ, that by all estimates, Jesus would have been born in 0 BC or 0 AD. But there is no such year in the calendar as 0. It goes right from 1 BC to 1 AD. So, by all estimates, Jesus was born sometime between year 6 and 4 BC and died between year 30 and 36 AD. Many famous scriptures in the Bible point to Jesus being born in Bethlehem. In fact, the most famous story in the Bible is of Mary giving birth to Jesus in a stable when there was no room in the inn. Bethlehem is in present-day Palestine, which was under the Roman Empire control from 63 BC to 66 AD. This means for his whole life, from 6 BC to 36 AD, Jesus lived in the Roman Empire. We've covered on this show before how friendly the Roman Empire was to LGBTQ people, so we won't cover this in too much detail now, as you can check out that episode below. But very basically, most people living in the Roman Empire were very openly bisexual. If you were wealthy or from political power, you were manly and considered a top. If you were poor or from a lesser class, you were considered the bottom and could often be found in bathhouses around the city, being visited by wealthier or more powerful men. Jesus was very poor and had little to no political power, so many might assume in his time that he was a bottom or a prostitute. But many historians believe that Jesus was a versatile, based on scriptures and evidence they can still find on his life. Remember, in his age, there was no concept of sexual orientation. So being straight or gay or bisexual weren't things anyone called each other. Instead, gender was the entire construct. So men who were tops with other men were still considered manly. Men who were bottoms for other men were considered more effeminate and went against the gender norms of the time period. But they were still widely accepted by society. My point is that back in his lifetime, being gay or bisexual was widely accepted. So that brings up another great question. What evidence do we have that Jesus himself was gay? Many historians here would first point to St. Paul, who was not a part of the original 12 apostles who followed Jesus around everywhere he went, but instead called himself an apostle shortly after the crucifixion of Jesus. St. Paul would spend years after the death of Jesus going around preaching about the word of God, and even was named as a saint because of it. But by all modern definitions, St. Paul was homosexual, and the partner St. Paul had a relationship with was Jesus Christ. But beyond his relationship with St. Paul,
What? Hold on.
They
Hold
didn't even
on,
meet.
what?
They hadn't even met. I mean,
Hey,
Jesus ascended
no.
into heaven before Paul even became a believer. So I don't know where he's getting that.
Yeah, if you read the Bible, you read Acts, you read just Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts.
Paul was one of the ones that wanted to kill all of Jesus's disciples.
Yeah, Paul was probably
He was a Pharisee.
there.
He called himself a Pharisee of the Pharisees.
Yeah,
He considered
Paul was
himself
probably
guilty of murder.
there whenever whenever Jesus was crucified. He was very likely there, not like an active part of it, but his first actual meeting that even he admitted and that he recorded, his first actual meeting with Jesus was on the road to Damascus. Jesus had already ascended, and he was on the road to Damascus to go kill Christians when Jesus appeared to him and blinded him and was like, why do you persecute me?
It was a miraculous meeting. It was completely miraculous in the whole.
Yes, I do agree. He had a relationship with Jesus, but it wasn't in any way physical or sexual.
It wasn't physical at all. It just wasn't even physical at all. I did agree with what he was talking about, and we did talk about this in the patriarch and matriarch, masculinity and femininity.
I got a baby that's up. I'll be right back.
Okay, we talked about this, and hopefully she can put a link somewhere to that. But masculinity and femininity at that point, there weren't gender. I mean, it was male or female. You know, doctor pulls baby up and says, it's a boy, it's a girl, whatever. And so there wasn't this gender confusion or whatever going on. And he's also right about the Romans, and the Greeks were very much like that too. Sex was open with whoever, whatever, however you wanted to.
Yes, and Paul even talks about this.
Yes,
so you want to talk about how
in the Bible, if you get down to the words that are used, it's usually fornication.
In Colossians, Paul is writing letters to the people in the Colossian people, and he talks about how some of them had been gay at one time and had forsaken normal relations with men with women and women with men, and how they had been that at one time, and then when they converted had changed and had put off those old ways.
And that wasn't the only thing that they put off. There were a lot of things that when you become a believer and you begin to have a relationship with the Messiah, Yeshua, And again, it's not a physical relationship, it's a spiritual, emotional relationship. There are things that it's stated in the Bible, you put off the old man, you die to the old man, and you're reborn as a new person. So in that process, there are things that we give up and we do differently, and that we start doing better to try to become better people and more like him. So yeah, any other thoughts here?
I'm trying to just find where that verse is at, actually.
Pull up Colossians.
Yeah, and you asked me, did I expect you guys to agree so much with him? This is the part where I'm like, with his entire channel, I've seen a couple videos, and his entire channel is basically, I agree with this. How did you come to that conclusion? It's
Right. Well, and
Right.
I found that whenever I'm talking to
It's
people.
Colossians 3:5.
3:5. Okay, so
Which 3:5 through 7 actually would, or even through 8. All of Colossians is good. Why don't you just pull it all up? But
well, and I'll go ahead. I'll you can do it. I don't like New International Version at all, but we do have ESV, which hello. Put to death, therefore, what is earthly in you: sexual immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, and covetousness, which is idolatry. On account of these, the wrath of God is coming. In these, you too once walked when you were living in them. Okay, we need to realize that if there is a sin to God, all sins are the same. He doesn't rate them according to, the Catholic Church gives us 7 deadly sins or whatever. God doesn't ever in the Bible rate them. He said they're bad. If you do this, it's like it makes God upset to his stomach. So if you lie, if you steal, anything like that, anything. So it's not rated. It's just not how he wants us to live.
Yeah.
yes, and we could go into a whole thing on how sexual immorality in the Bible was most generally not just like adultery or something. It was often and is often translated as homosexuality.
Yes, it is. And there are health issues. There's health issues. So, anyway, we will. That can be a subject for another day. Hello. Okay, we're gonna listen to some more of the video.
There are 3 other major examples of Jesus being queer. The first can be found in the scriptures of Matthew and Luke. In their writings about Jesus' childhood, Matthew and Luke use the word paius to describe a young boy Jesus is befriending. Paius comes from the word pederasty, which means youth. And in their writings of their relationship, it is clearly described as an erotic relationship. A man comes to Jesus and asks for his boy to be healed. Jesus asked if he should heal him, saying, quote, "I'm not worthy that you should come under my roof, but say the word and my boy will be healed." Jesus later describes this encounter as, quote, "There is no greater faith than I've encountered in Israel." The most ironic part is nowadays in Catholic churches around the world, they recite the phrase, quote, "Lord, I'm not worthy to receive you, but only say the word and I shall be healed." This means they are literally repeating a homoerotic phrase every week before receiving communion. The third strong piece of evidence to suggest Jesus was gay comes from the Gospel of John. He and Jesus have a very intimate relationship according to the scripture.
What even?
He healed the boy.
He healed the boy.
He didn't.
And like I'm trying to look up. I'm trying to do it all one-handed.
Yeah,
But
I
I'm
know
trying to
that
look up.
verse. I can't remember where
Is-
it was.
Is this person saying what's your name? Your name's Matt. I'm sorry, Matt. Are you saying that Jesus had a pedophile relationship with a boy he healed? I do have a problem with that. I do have a problem with that.
Well, I don't know if he's saying that or if he's saying that
I
the
hope not.
man who came to Jesus and asked him to heal the boy was in a pedophile relationship. Like,
Oh.
I mean,
But then Jesus would be okay with it.
Right.
He would be saying in some way, shape, or form that pedophilia was okay. Okay, I'm going to say right here, right now, I don't know what all the letters are to the LBG stuff, but there is no way ever that pedophilia is okay. Ever.
Yeah, as far as I know,
that to children. Okay.
as far as I know, pedophilia is still, most of the LGBT community is still against pedophilia
I hope
on
so.
a fundamental level.
I hope
like-
so. As a child that was molested as a very small child, no.
right. And I'm trying to look up that specific.
And my mommy
um,
heart just starts going, oh
And
my
I don't
goodness.
think it was, I think the verse is actually talking about his,
Are you
not
trying to find the
his-
verse, Catherine?
I am.
not his son. I think I remember something similar in that it was like a centurion soldier came to Jesus because his basically favorite
Yes, the one that
So
I
we're
think
talking
he's
Luke
quoting.
chapter
Servant.
9. Is
Is-
that it?
No, Matt, I think Matthew 8:5-13.
Yeah, I think it was, he came to ask Jesus to heal his servant.
Right.
And if they were
So,
in a homosexual relationship, then I think that's where he's getting it.
Oh, it was his servant. He's assuming it's a sex servant.
Yes, that's
Oh
what
my
I'm assuming.
goodness. And he's assuming that the savior of the world would be okay with that.
right.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, no
my
matter
Lord.
no matter what version you read that in, it is my servant.
My servant will be
Okay,
healed.
so maybe he's a sex slave. Are you condoning sex slavery then? Would Jesus be condoning sex slavery?
Yeah,
but
that's
it
another
doesn't-
good question.
Yeah,
Right.
it doesn't say though that it never lists him necessarily as a slave. It says servant.
so he was
And-
probably
Hired
paid.
person. That is somebody being paid in one way.
That is
shape, or
somebody
form.
being paid. And then Jesus wasn't condoning anything that the centurion had done other than have more faith than even Jesus's own disciples at the time.
Yeah.
That's saying, no,
And
if you are the Son of God, just say the word and I believe that my
And
servant will be
just
healed.
are you assuming too that the centurion, just because he was a Roman centurion, that he was gay? Because it doesn't say that he was.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
There's a lot
sure,
of
it
assumptions
was
going on here.
it was kind of a popular thing in Rome, yeah, granted.
But that doesn't
and
mean
definitely toward the
everybody was.
fall.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't mean that everybody was. And especially as far removed as they were from Rome and being in Judea, where that was not okay.
Right.
So, and I'm sorry, again, we may have to do a reaction video on his how no religion condemns gay or whatever that was, because
I have
I'm
not
sitting here
I have
like,
not seen that one, but
Okay,
that
well,
would
don't
be a
watch
fun.
it. Don't watch it because
I'm
people-
sitting here like,
I
I'm
have to do
sorry,
that.
I've read the Bible, I've read the Quran, and there's been a couple of other things I've read that no, yeah, pretty sure gay is condemned in at least 2 major religions.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, so I think it would be a fun video to go over, and again, not to
Your
bash
idea of
him or
fun,
his
Mr.
channel.
Jedi, is I don't know about this.
Right.
Okay, we are
So-
7 minutes into an 11-minute video, and I don't know how long we've been at it, but okay. Let us see how much further we can make it.
And Jesus even refers to John as his beloved disciple. Their relationship is so intimate that John was seated directly beside Jesus at the Last Supper, where his hand was depicted under Jesus's tunic, which is a term they used to call their underwear. So yes, at the Last Supper, Jesus and John were showing their homosexual affection for one another, even in one of the most famous
Okay, the hand under the thigh thing, I realize that is something that's odd to us, but you're telling the whole Hebrew community that you're being, this is toxic masculinity right here. You are telling a whole group of people, because this happened way back in Abraham, and Abraham and Isaac did this. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is where
Abraham was his
people
own
came-
son, Isaac. And
And
Isaac was his own son, Jacob.
it was a way that they made
Swore
an
an oath.
oath, swore an oath to each other. So you are putting you're actually this is an anti-Semitic concept, that it's gay to swear an oath with a hand under a thigh. That doesn't mean he was grabbing his balls, dude.
Yeah, no, like do your research. This is an old Jewish tradition to put the hand under the thigh when they're swearing an oath or to someone beloved.
And these were with
And-
old men. They were putting it under their thigh. They were probably sitting or reclining at the time. And it definitely says at the dinner that they were reclining. It was putting it under, like they were sitting on them. So no, they weren't playing with genitals, dude. Oh my goodness. It's
Yeah.
gonna get too much.
And the painting itself, like, I don't know if there's any older depictions, but the painting he's showing is Leonardo da Vinci's
Yeah, that's
painting.
That's 1,000 years.
Yeah, which is like,
Yeah.
which was made between 1495 and 1498.
Yeah, so this is 1,400 years after
Yeah.
the fact. Leonardo was not, he didn't take a picture of the situation.
Yeah,
And
and
once
it doesn't
again,
say
It's
anywhere
white
in
dudes. They
scripture.
were not white dudes, guys. So
Yeah, again, you're taking off of a picture that you basically just condemned earlier at the start of your video.
Yeah.
And not going off of scripture again.
yeah.
So
Very-
all the
very
good research you
anti-Semitic.
did earlier to nitpick things, excuse me, I'm talking. So all the good research that this guy did earlier to nitpick basically the Christian religion to kick it off, he has now completely dropped his research completely
Yeah.
Yeah,
and is going off of hearsay essentially.
like
Yeah.
I said, a lot of the videos that I've seen of him tend to be like this. Like, it has really good information to start, and then he kind
There's
of
the
drops
ball
it.
and drop it.
Okay. Let's see how much further we can make it.
Depictions of all time. Another piece of evidence comes from the fact that Jesus was a teacher, a rabbi of sorts in his lifetime. In those days, teachers were always married, but Jesus never was. Now, some speculate this is because he was bisexual, but many historians believe it was because of his deep and sexual relationships with his apostles. After all, who else travels around with 12 other men and a woman and isn't gay? There is one final piece of evidence to point to Jesus having sexual desires for those of his
Hold
fellows.
on.
Evidence comes from an inscription.
All right. Girls travel in packs to the bathroom and boys hang out in groups. my entire life, you didn't have to be gay to hang out in a whole pack of boys. Okay.
There was, for a majority of my life, there has been one bar in our county here in Oklahoma, one bar. And I was raised in that bar. So I when you go in there in the evening after they quit serving hamburgers, it is usually a bunch of men sitting around enjoying each other's company.
And like the 6 o'clock coffee hour down at the co-op where all the farmers get
Yes.
together, it ain't women, it's all a bunch of men.
And in the morning coffee in there.
The
Watching the
table of
news.
wisdom.
The table of wisdom. It's a bunch of men hanging out together. Does
Mhm.
not, men hanging out together does not mean
They're gay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's this thing
most
that's
of them
called,
have got wives or girlfriends.
yeah, there's this thing called gang rape. And usually that's a pack of men who are not gay. So having a hard time, sorry. All right.
Yeah.
I'll give him something if he still wants to consider Jesus as gay or within the LGBT community, he could consider him asexual, aromantic, which for Christians would be celibate.
Right. That's how I
Well,
believe
and I'd like to know
Jesus.
what research he got to say that all teachers were married. All teachers had to be married.
Right? Again,
There's
Paul,
nothing biblical. And as far as historical data, that's kind of neat. We don't know exactly how old Jesus was at the time. You know, the Masons like to say he was 33 years old or whatever. But there's nothing that just specifically lays it out. And I don't even think Josephus goes into, oh, Jesus was a teacher, but he wasn't even married, so he wasn't doing it right or anything like that. And
Yeah, we consider him a teacher these days, but back
well,
then
he
he
was
was
called
more
a
of a
teacher.
he was called a wandering prophet by most, I would assume.
yes.
And
yeah.
most prophets were not married.
He wasn't a priest. He wasn't a
Yeah.
priest.
He
And
wasn't a priest.
even of the priestly line. He wasn't
was-
of Levi. He wasn't part of the tribe of Levi. He was a part of the tribe of Judah. So he wasn't a priest. He wasn't, that was,
And then his entire goal, Jesus's entire goal was to be an anomaly.
Yeah.
It just period. So he was not of this world. That was his whole thing. He
wasn't
told
like
Pontius Pilate,
I
I am
wasn't
not
fitting
of this
in-
world.
Yeah, he wasn't fitting in with the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the Levites of that day, or the Herodians, which is a whole nother subject. And
Yeah.
he wasn't fitting in with the Roman rulers either.
Yeah. He was a
completely-
complete anomaly to Pontius Pilate.
Jesus was a country boy walking down dirt roads, you know? I like that song. Yeah, he was a country boy. So he was hanging out with the bros.
Yeah. Saying
Okay.
that he hang out with a pack of men and couldn't be gay. Like what groups did you hang out with growing up? I'm sorry.
When the guys have a pasture party out here, I mean, they
And a lot of I
That's
have
not
known
part
a
of
lot
it.
of okay, here we go. I have known a lot of guys that they will get in a guy group with one girl, and it ain't because they gay, sweetheart. One girl and a pole.
okay, moving on. We won't talk about what the cowboys out here are like. All right, here we go.
Of the gospel discovered in the 1960s, which dates back to the same era that the Bible was being written. So many believe it was meant to be included in the original Bible, but because of its contents, the Catholic Church left it out on purpose. It contains a story of a naked boy who comes to Jesus and spends the night with Jesus for what it calls initiation. In opposition to what we say here, some people will point to Mary Magdalene, who for a long time was rumored to be either a prostitute saved by Jesus or his lifetime companion, or both. The truth is somewhere between these. Mary was one of the first followers of Jesus and was by his side up until his crucifixion and resurrection. So she could have been an intimate partner of his, but little evidence points to this being sexual. Others might say we are just making up wild claims and making our own opinions based on the words in the scripture. But aside from the fact that making up your own opinions based on the words in the scripture literally describes what happens every weekend in churches around the world, these are the opinions of most major historians worldwide, which have all studied this for years now. And to that point, I would remind you that the Catholic Church has done far more to cover over far less in history. Coming out and admitting Jesus was gay or bisexual, or even a supporter of homosexuality, would have been devastating to their cause over the years. After all, they were the ones who mistranslated the Bible and added in words to condemn homosexuality that were...
Okay, I do have an issue with this because I've seen, and I want to be careful here, in the Catholic Church where men became priests to be celibate. I think sometimes to get away from a homosexual tendency. We see that coming out today, where a lot of the priests are pedophiles or homosexuals, and it's come out in the news and things.
Yeah,
And
I was about to say,
why would the Catholic Church not actually use these thoughts? If this is biblical, if this is historical, why would the Catholic Church not have used that as an excellent excuse to do what what a lot of the priests are already doing? I mean, they would have done that. There's nothing wrong with being celibate. But, and again, it makes it sound like, I mean, it troubles me, his line of thinking here, because he still makes it sound like he's trying to make his pedophilia is okay.
yeah, again, I mean, going into the extra biblical story, which I'm trying to think which book that would be in, and I'm pretty sure I've read it, and most of it was, again, hearsay, written by a lot of it, okay, written by the people who wanted him dead and discredited, all right, not by his apostles. What we have
trying to
in the New Testament is stuff written by his followers who spent 24/7 with him and wrote down his words. All right. Not
if you want to go into some extra biblical or extra canonical, read the Book of Enoch.
But I mean, again, even if that story were true, again, you're saying that Jesus is condoning pedophilia, which is just no.
He said it. He said that multiple times. Those who commit that act should not be suffered to live.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He said if you hurt a child, it's better to have a millstone wrapped around your neck. Let me see if I can find that one. Millstone.
And that one's easy to take out of context too.
It is.
Really, it just, but Jesus was absolutely fond of children, but not in a sexual way. He was fond of them. People at the time, children were nothing. You weren't anything until you were not really a viable human until you could go work and make a paycheck.
Well, I mean, and if this is your line of thinking, then are you going to turn around and say that whenever Jesus said, "Let the children be brought to me," because the disciples were telling the mothers to keep their children away, and the mothers were wanting their children blessed. Would you say that by these mothers wanting their children blessed, that they were wanting him to rape their children? I mean, that's beyond. That's beyond. No, that is
No,
not what they were wanting. They were wanting him to lay his hand on their heads and bless them. As again, you're being anti-Semitic because you're going against a tradition, a thousands of years of tradition in that area. You should do more research on Palestine and the people and their uh, eh, their
their
culture,
traditions, their culture.
their tradition and their culture, because they still carry those things today. So yeah, I've got a real problem with that. Okay, let us try this again.
Never there before. They were the ones making major profits from condemning homosexuality and thus admitting the man in front of all of their altars worldwide was a gay man himself would blow the lid on so many other cover-ups the church has done. When I was younger, I was told by the priest in my Catholic school how wrong it was to be gay, how wrong it was of me to have a crush on my best friend Alex. Years later, I finally decided to question what that one man said to me. It didn't take us too long to realize not only was it not a sin to be gay, but the man we all worshipped every weekend in church was just as gay, if not gayer than me. My point here is that even if Jesus was not gay, which is very unlikely, then at least he was a supporter, because the words of the gospel are very, very clear. Do unto others as you would like to be treated. And so, please.
Oh, do unto others as you would like to have them treated. So whenever you were a little boy, Matt, did you want men in the church to rape you? Because that's what you're basically saying. You're saying, yeah, I can't watch any more of this. This is obviously where he's got this. It's a rebellion against the Catholic Church that he was raised in. The Catholic Church does, unfortunately, have some very bad teachings. And yes, they have covered a lot up, and he is definitely right with that. He's got a lot right with this. But yeah, Jesus was not saying pedophilia was good. And do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You would have them treat you with respect and consideration and love in a non-sexual way first.
And I think I could just add real quick here. Matthew 19, verse 4. Jesus answered, "Have you not read that he who created them from the beginning made them male and female? And said, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they're no longer two, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let man not separate."
Okay, what verse did you say that was?
Matthew 19, verse 4 through 6.
Okay. Yeah, when the doctor or the midwife delivers a baby, or if there's a baby reveal before the baby's born because of an ultrasound, they say it's a boy or it's a girl, and they're excited about it. Whichever one. And God said, then a man and woman becomes one flesh.
And that is my point with that verse specifically, was that Jesus said that.
Yeah.
Jesus said God made them male and female, and it is therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they're no longer two, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let not man separate.
Yes.
Jesus was not gay, sweet pea.
And he quoted the Old Testament in the book of Enoch so many times. So you can't take him and separate him from the Old Testament and the Old Testament teachings. And in this video, he did mention the 10 Commandments, and he's got a lot of good points here that I think Bible believers today need to take heed with and realize that there are things that you are doing in your congregational organized religion churches, your 501c3, that are wrong, and that these people see that and then they bounce off of it to make excuses for what they've got, being deceived and deluding themselves into believing that a harmful, potentially very harmful lifestyle it is okay with God. And biblically speaking, Jesus said the only way to the Father is through him and a belief in him. So and a changing and a being born again. And that's important. Yeah, this is troubling. I don't call this fun, Chloe. Good grief. He did start out, I appreciate some of the research that he did. I'm sorry if he had a bad experience in Catholic school. I had bad experiences in public school, so I get that. That's why homeschooling is an excellent option.
Yeah. I wanted to go back to something you said earlier whenever you said that you've had bad experiences with the LGBT community, that they take every criticism you say as an insult. Not all of them do. Most of the older generation does accept the criticisms that you give. Just most of the newer ones are more of the touchy-feely.
I do agree. The newer, it's the new language that they're speaking, the new way that they're changing. And I'm sorry if I didn't have that clarified there. Yeah, we've had people in our community for years, decades, that they're very important parts of our community. I have a lot of respect for a lot of these people as a person, and they get treated respectfully for the most part of what I've seen, and maybe they would give a different, if we could get somebody on to do an interview with, but some of the new stuff and the new ideas and things are hard to understand. First of all, hard to take. And anybody who believes that because somebody has a hard time understanding that they're being hateful is got a problem. Just because somebody doesn't see things the way you see them, just because somebody doesn't have the same perception or the same worldview or the same understandings as you do, doesn't mean they're hateful. If we have a special needs child who literally cannot understand some basic things, you're not going to say that child is hateful because they don't understand something. So why would you do that with anybody else? It's rude, it's disrespectful, and it's accomplishing nothing in our world today. Our world is falling apart because you have decided that somebody hates you because they don't understand you or they don't agree with you. And I think you need to get over yourself, because you know what? Not everybody understands me. And not everybody agrees with me. As a matter of fact, I often don't even agree with myself on everything. So, get over it. Get on with your life and try to, have a productive life. And oh my goodness. Did that go where you thought it would go, Chloe?
Pretty much.
angry changed the mommy.
Yeah. So before you go talking about how Jesus and his followers are gay, or how homosexuality in any form is condoned by the Bible, you should actually go read the Bible, and not just read it, but then read it again and study it. Because no. And the reason, here's the kicker, all right? The reason us Christians are adamant that homosexuality is a sin is because the Bible does state very, very clearly that that is one of the sins you will go to hell for. And we don't want to see you go to hell. We want you to be in heaven.
Yes,
But it is
because
your choice.
we love you as a person. We believe you were created in the image of God with a special purpose and a special plan for your life, and that he created you in your mother's womb with your father's seed. It took a male and a female to create you. And not
And-
just don't even just put this on Christians and Bible believers. I'm sorry if you've had a problem with your organized religious sect, but you're talking about a culture and a whole area of the world and community in which there are people that have a generational cultural belief system that you are. It's not just Christians, and so you need to be
He
much more
was
careful.
he was interpreting it through the modern lens that he has, not the cultural lens that they have.
Well, and
Exactly.
he wasn't even, I mean, he's also his modern lens from Western society. He wasn't even looking at Eastern culture as of today. I realize that Israel has a huge LBG community. I realize that, but that whole area and culture is not necessarily there with that. So yeah, there's.
And so the reasons Christians, or what the reason Christians should be upset about you being gay isn't because they hate you. And there will unfortunately be some Christians that get very hateful about it. But the real reason is that in the Bible, we are told that liars, thieves, rapists, homosexuals won't make it to heaven. And we are told that we are supposed to snatch you from the fire. You are our brothers and sisters. We have been, just here, me, mom, my brother, we've been related to gay people. Okay. Lesbians, we have lesbians in our family. We don't hate them, and we want them to be in heaven with us. And really, if the Bible actually did condone and say that it was okay, we would be all over that. But it doesn't. And it's very clear about it when you go read it and when you go study it. It is very clear. So condoning it is dangerous for your soul. That is what we believe. If you don't believe that, then that's where we're going to have some differences right there. So, and I will also say that we're each born with sin tendency, because we are born in a broken, sin-eaten world. So some of us are born with gluttonous desires. Some of us are born natural liars. And some of us are born with sexual desires.
And we want to see those people change as well, as well as changing those tendencies within ourselves.
And just because you are born a murderer doesn't mean that's who you were born as and you go out and you murder people. Just because you were born an adulterer does not mean that's just who you are and you go out and commit adultery. Nope. The whole idea is that you are supposed to build a relationship with Jesus, and he is giving you the power to change your life so that you are not controlled by your ingrained sexual or sinful desires. So that's what it says.
Yep, definitely. Well, we are definitely open to comments. I ask that you keep the comment section G-rated, please. We do have children. We don't want to have to pull it up and read a comment, and we don't want children over the shoulder reading nasty language. So
If
be
you want to say
quiet.
something bad or mean, then you can be creative and say it in a specific way. Don't just go spew profanity.
Points for creativity.
Yes, points
Yes.
for creativity. So if you can be polite and considerate about your comments, put your disagreements or your questions or anything in the comments, we welcome that. And if you agree with our side here,
Also be
subscribe.
respectful about it.
Yeah, and definitely, please do. Yes, also be respectful about it. We do not condone being disrespectful in any way on either side of this situation. Subscribe, share the video, whatever. And you can visit prairie-trail.com, sign up for my newsletter. And Catherine is helping. Catherine's an author, and she's beginning to help coach new authors in writing their books. So if you'd like to visit catherinejfogelman.com, sign up for her newsletter. And I help people live more sustainable lifestyles with God's help. And so if that's something that you're interested in, please do pop on over and subscribe. We'll try to have links below. And I'm telling you, garlic. And we thank you if you made it all the way to the end of this video. Points. Points. Thank you so much for joining us here. Let us know what you think, and if this type of video reactionary type thing is something that you'd like to see more of. Let us know what you would like for us to react to. And
Yep, share links below.
thank you. Bye. No. Cancel.
Bye-bye.
Say bye-bye. Say bye-bye.